Well, welcome to the Betfred Boxing Show with myself, Don McGuinness, and Anthony $1 Million Crolla. As ever, Anthony, we are going to have a look at the action that we've just witnessed, look ahead to everything that's coming up, and it is going to be a busy week, a busy weekend of boxing. And of course, the Olympics is in full flow as well. So we'll be talking all things Team GB and some of the Irish prospects as well have been doing very well in the Olympics. And to start things off, though, Anthony, we've got to look back at the performance of the juggernaut, the man himself, Joe Joyce, who's made another statement and is loitering in and around that top echelon now of the heavyweight division. How impressed were you with his performance, Big Joe?
I was even more impressed by his ring outfit, the juggernaut. Very, big talking point. But no, listen, I'm a big Joe Joyce fan now. I said I can't go against him again. And listen, I think a little bit like expected. He took some big shots early on, but from Takam, the right hand was landing probably a bit too often where you'd worry if it was one of the elite names in the division, what would happen. But listen, I always say it, I think heavyweight boxing, you can't afford to be getting hit too much. And Joe Joyce, I think what he doesn't get given credit for, he rides a lot of those shots, takes the sting out of him. But people complain about the finish. I thought it was a good stoppage. I thought the stoppage was definitely coming. I always say what a great engine he's got, but once he started going through the gears, and that's why for me it was inevitable will the stoppage come. But now it's just for Big Joe. I've said all the time, no one's going to be a rush. No one's going to be in a rush to give Joe a title shot. So now he's going to be mandatory. He's probably going to have to wait. It's what he does in the meantime. I know his manager Sam Jones, he's been very vocal. He'll fight Luis Ortiz, whoever it may be. I'll be happy to see Joe Joyce with anyone in the division. There's some huge domestic showdowns as well. Sure, could get on to. But no, it's I'm a big Joe Joyce fan.
You mentioned Ortiz, another overseas fighter who's obviously been training with Andy Lee. Joe Parker's a name that's been bandied around, and Chisora, even Dillian White. Now, I think Dillian White would be, I suppose, the highest ranked of all of those names, possibly now that Joe could get in with. If you had to pick of those lot, because let's face it, obviously he's not going anywhere near Fury or Joshua for a while. That's something he's going to have to be patient about. But where would you go with him? What would you like to see?
I think I'd look to. So he's more or less in the mandatory position for the WBO, but obviously that's going to take a bit of time. If Usyk, that's been forced with AJ. So I'd be looking to sort of just keep moving him up the rankings and all. And he's ranked highly with a few of the organisations, and that's what I'd do. Joe, you mentioned Joe Joyce and Dillian White would be an unbelievable fight. But again, I think Dillian White's got his own issue with the WBC about not being, the fight not being forced and being mandatory. So that won't happen anytime soon, you wouldn't think. But like I said, there's still some, although listen, the fight everyone wants to see, the big one with AJ and Fury, it's there's plenty of great fights to be made in the division. Like I say, we don't know if Fury AJ is going to happen. AJ's got to come through Usyk. Fury's got to come through Wilder. But I think there's so many in the top five or six you could match, and there'd be great fights.
Well, the undercard on the Joe Joyce night, if you like, wasn't bad either, was it? Esserman against Jenkins, good fight, good performance, and then Shiraz and Burke as well, beating Beach Jr. So, I mean, what was your pick of that lot?
I like him. I like Shiraz. I like him a lot. Probably he's ready for the step up. He's ready to, I believe, to be let off the leash. I didn't know he was working out in the Goosen gym. Very dedicated, took himself away there. He's working out, improving all the time. I seen with his coach, who had been out there myself with him. He was showing what they was working on before, and it coming to fruition on the night with Ricky. So it was a great performance. But for me as well, like the engine, Chris Jenkins, I thought he was doing well. He possibly up on the cards, but once he got going, he found a way. And new British welterweight champion. And we mentioned last week, Chris Borg, I think he's been matched very well in little fights. And Jimmy Beach Jr., he's not an easy night for anyone, but I thought he passed the test very well. And it's going to be interesting now. Like I say, they're moving in pretty fast. What's the next move? But all three of them impressed me.
Yeah. Well, moving on to the Olympics, of course, it's well underway now. And in terms of Team GB, the GB boxers, a couple of the fellas have gone. Peter McGrail, who, again, you could say it was wrong, I suppose, in him going in the way he was, not seeded. But then also Chev Clark is no longer in the Olympics. He's taken it on the chin as well. He's had a good attitude about it. And then, obviously, we've seen Charlie Davison, who was a great story, mother of three, against the Chinese girl. She's now out as well, but still so much talent left in there.
Yeah, I've just watched that again. She just come up short. The Olympic team, I was mentioning it, said it for the last few weeks now, it could be our best Olympic team, our most successful Olympic team ever, and it still can be. Like I said, you mentioned the few that have gone out, but there's been some great performances as well. And obviously the draw's got to be kind a lot of the time, for some of the fighters. Hopefully, but there's been some fantastic performances. I think Price, she looks fantastic. I've been very impressed with the girls throughout each and every one of them. I think she looks, if I could, in my banker for a gold medal, it would probably be her, no pressure. Ben Waker's look good, very slick. I've said there's a lot of, I think James DeGale about Waker, what I like, and like I said, he gets that good draw, which he looks like he's got. You can see what happens on the day when he goes against the bigger names. But there's been some great performances. Your Pat McCormack. I could name them all, and even the ones that have gone out have just come up short. You mentioned a great story of Charlie. Then it's she just come up short, short against the world number 2. It could have, on a different day, it could have very easily gone away. But 1 medal guaranteed with Karis, who's been fantastic to watch. Real southpaw, nice style, spiteful with that backhand and digs the body shots in. There's going to be plenty more medals.
So you mentioned Karis. Obviously, she's done really well, and Lauren Price, who just looks super strong. So strong,
and just a natural athlete. I think she played football at a great level. And then you obviously Caroline Dubois. I think, like I said, I've been impressed throughout the whole team. The whole team, I don't think I've seen a bad performance, even in the fighters that have come up short, the 3 that have come in short. And obviously, I think we're going to talk about it. One of the results of the tournament, Ireland's Kurt Walker, what a performance, beating the world number 1.
Yeah, and still plenty of talent in the Ireland team still to go. Again, there's been some disappointments for them. Brendan Irving and also Emmett as well, who went out as a disappointment. But anyway, as you say, lots of talent to look forward to, and it's really going to hot up over the weekend and into next week. And that's the goal, obviously, is to stay in there. But producer Josh, as he likes to do, how busy he is, and he likes to make sure he gets a few people to talk about these things and other things. So he's caught up to talk Olympics and fight camp with Darren Barker.
Joined here by Darren Barker. Before we get on to fight camp, Darren, obviously the Olympics are taking place in Tokyo. What have you made of the British contingent so far over there in Tokyo?
Yeah, I mean, what a team. We've got so much talent coming through, and credit to all the GB setup. What they're doing in Sheffield, the EIS is tremendous. And when I was a amateur boxer, we were, we wasn't one of the powerful nations out there. It was your Cuba, Russians, Kazakhs and that. But now England are one of the real leading nations in amateur boxing. It's great to see. And yeah, some of the talent out there is incredible. Peter McGraw, unlucky. The draw went against him, should have been seeded. Pat McCormack looked good the other day. Caroline Dubois. There's so much talent, and we're definitely going to see a fair few medals out there. And I'm cheering them all on and keeping my fingers crossed and just watching in awe. What great futures they've all got in front of them.
No, definitely. And over in Tokyo as well, got to give a big shout out to the Irish boxer Kurt Walker, who beat the number 1 ranked opponent in his division as well.
Yeah, definitely. What a fighter he is as well. And hopefully he can go all the way. And with the might of Ireland behind him, the future is very bright if you're a fan of his, because they're just tremendous. They're a tremendous fan base. They're so patriotic. And another one that if he knuckles down and keeps doing what he's doing, he's got a great future in front of him.
Definitely. And we've seen boxers who have had success in the Olympics and the amateurs, and they go on to the professional ranks. Out of the current crop that are over there in Tokyo, who do you think could go on to have the most success in the professional ranks?
Oh, good question. Good question. I mean, there's no doubt that Pat McCormack's probably the best out there. He's incredible. I watched him at the EIS in Sheffield sparring, and I was just in awe of his talent. His boxing brain was second to none. His speed of hand, foot, his reactions, and his shot selection was so impressive. So he's definitely one. Caroline Dubois, obviously, I'm going to be slightly biased because she's a Repton fighter, my old amateur boxing club. I think she could make a real splash in the ladies' game. I think she's very talented and still so young, still learning. So yeah, they're two standouts for me.
No, definitely. And moving on to Fight Camp, before we move on to this year's Fight Camp, you were obviously involved in Fight Camp last year. What were your memories of that? Of course, we're in the pandemic then, and it was something that Eddie and Matchroom had to do and think outside the box. But what was it like being there for those shows last year, first of all, Darren?
Brilliant. It was fantastic, mate. It was one I felt so privileged to be involved. We had such fun in the bubble here. I'm back in the hotel now in Holiday Inn where it all started a year ago, and it was just great to see live boxing back, proper live boxing, and what entertainment we was given. I have to take my hat off and applaud and thank the warriors that got in the ring during those shows. It was epic, wasn't it? And to finish the way it did, Dillian White Povetkin, wow! I mean, that's boxing for you. But now we move on to this one, and I'm super excited. I think we've got 3 fantastic shows. We've got fans back. We've got 300 people in the garden. I think if it was to replicate last year, then we're in for a treat. But the fact that Matchroom's now with the Zone, the production's going to be bigger and better. It's going to outdo last Fight Camp, and last Fight Camp was epic. So we're in for a real treat.
And you mentioned, of course, this card, it's going to be the first of the UK shows on DAZN. You're part of the DAZN team. If people haven't yet signed up to DAZN, why should they? And what can we expect this week in the build-up to the first Fight Camp on DAZN?
Well, I keep saying this, and I don't say this as an employee of Matchroom and DAZN. I don't care what anyone says. I'm just a boxing fan. I'm a massive boxing fan. And I had a virtual meeting the other day with Chris Lloyd, the rest of the talent team, Mike Jammer, Laura Woods, Tony Bellew, Andy Lee, Mike Costello. And what I was hearing is what they've said, game changed. They're not messing about. They are the leading player now. So if you're not involved, then and you're a boxing fan, sign up. It's going to be epic. I am just excited again, not because I'm involved, just because I'm a massive boxing fan, and it's great for the sport. There's more avenues now to watch the greatest sport in the world, and the Zone are on another level now. I mean, it's with the budget, the production's going to be better, the fights are going to be better, everything's going to be better. So I'm just thrilled to be involved, and if you haven't signed up, you will not be disappointed.
Well, it's always interesting to hear from the Dazzler. He's always on good form as well. And again, interesting that, he's highlighted Pat McCormack, which many people would. He's super talented. Caroline Dubois, he knows from Repton, a bit of bias there, as he says, but we know what a force of nature she's going to be, amateur and pro, if whenever she turns over. But also Lauren Price, and I know we've spoken before about her, but again, you just be thinking pro boxing, Lauren Price, she just looks suited, doesn't she? Looks really good for it.
Middleweight, you suited, like you say, in that division. I'm not talking too soon, but your Clarissa Shields, our own Savannah, Sona Marshall. It's going to be a great division. You get the feeling you could move Lauren fast, but obviously I'm not getting too carried away. She's still got an Olympic medal to go and win, hopefully a gold one. But no, she's looked very good.
Yeah, we are getting ahead of ourselves, no doubt about that. But as we're hearing from Darren as well, Fight Camp is back, and it's the first time that Matchroom and DAZN have come together, and you can hear the excitement in Darren's voice. Epic, he keeps saying. But it is one to look forward to. Shame about Conor Benn. Obviously, we wish him well with recovery because, getting the COVID positive test, so he's out. It's a real shame for Granados, who looked completely up for it as well. He's disappointed. I think they'll do it again, no doubt about that. But it's still going to be something special. And now an opportunity for Can Zhu, or is it Zhu Can? We hear different things in terms of how we should pronounce his name. But Lee Wood, he tops the bill now in this world title fight. And what a fantastic thing to fall his way.
That's a great fight. And yeah, first of all, commiseration. It's kind of been and Granados, because he's going to miss out as well. But hopefully they're talking about doing it very soon, within the next month. So that's a top five. But listen, a lot of people, Kanzu, and Lee Wood, that might have been the pick of the show anyway. It's a great chance for Lee Wood to put himself on the world stage. And not just that, like, obviously, we've got the week after, we've got Galahad, Jazza Dickens, Josh Warrington, the one that it puts him right in the frame to be fighting one of those. But listen, it's not an easy task. He goes in there an underdog, but I believe he's a live one. Punch at the weight, nice skills. I certainly think a good start is so important for Lee Wood in this. Great engine on Zucan, and I think great corner in Pedro Diaz with him. I think it's so important that Lee starts fast, but paces himself as well. He's got to start sharp, but I reckon it could get tough early on, but he's got the skills and he certainly hits hard enough to gain respect.
It shows you as well, you've got to live the life. When these opportunities present themselves, you've got to be ready. And if you're not in the gym all the time, you're not ready for these chances, are you?
It does, and that's exactly that. And he's got his reward, as Lee Wood. So, fair play to him. He's coming at reasonably short notice. He's ready. And he's got his big chance Saturday night to announce himself on the world stage. Yeah.
Two of the big lads go head-to-head. There's 3 belts on the line. It's European, British, Commonwealth. It's Tommy McCarthy, Chris Billings-Smith. It's a great matchup, this, isn't it? And again, I think Billings-Smith is a slight favourite, but it's a proper live fight, this.
It's a great fight and a real pick him. Like, you change your mind a good handful of times before the night. There's a little bit of needle there, I think. I think it's more with Tommy and Shane. I think, as a coach and fighter and former, I think I don't really sparred back in the day, but there's a little bit of needle there. But Chris Billings-Smith, someone who's improving. Just both of them have improved a whole lot in the last 12 months. Over the pandemic, for sure. I think they're 2 of the most improved fighters. And for the 3 titles that are on the line, I believe it puts them in a great position to then move on to be looking for world titles. I think both will say not just yet, but it puts them right in the frame. Tommy McCarthy, I've seen up close. I know both lads. And Tommy McCarthy, I've seen the improvement in him over the last few years since he's really dedicated himself. But there you go again with Billings-Smith, coming back from the Riapo and narrow defeat there, he's improved massively under Shane McGuigan again. So it's a great fight. It's a real pick him. And I mentioned about Wood and Zucan like being one of the best fights on the card, or the best fight on the card. This is right up there. Yeah.
There's a couple of interesting battles as well, just below that fight, in terms of Anthony Fowler's back out again, a late replacement, Rico Mueller, who's on a German card just a couple of weeks ago. He was fighting a Georgian, so he gets an opportunity to showcase what he's about over here, late notice. But Fowler should be okay with that. Jack Collins got a really interesting one against Yildirim, who we last saw against Canelo.
Cullen and Yildirim is such a crazy fight, and again, now I'm going for it again. I think maybe that's the fight I'm looking. That's the show. So that's the fight to kick us off. And obviously, with Yildirim, he's been around that world level for a long time, but he's fell short. He's fell short, obviously, with Canelo in a few rounds, but even with Eubank Jr., it was a great performance from Eubank Jr. that night. Real in the Lions Den, real hostile environment. So it's going to be very different for him. He's got to make sure he's up for it, because Jack Cullen, I do not see how this can be a bad fight. Jack Cullen will bring pressure and more. And I think it can't help but be, this is going to be fight of the night. This is going to be fight of the night, and it's going to be the fight to get us started. You mentioned Anthony Fowler, new dad. Congratulations to him, late opponent. I think there's going to be a very big fight. He comes for it. There's going to be a very big fight that's going to be announced after it. We'll wait and see what that is. Very interesting. But yeah, no, it's a great card.
I think you know something that you're not letting on, but we'll see what we can do with that one. But just a couple of others as well. Campbell Hatton, fight number 3 for him, and a debut for Sandy Ryan.
It's good. Sandy, really excited about. Friend Paul Reddy, who's managing her. You can't speak highly enough of her. Clifton Mitchell, coach, she's ready for a world title now. That's a bold statement to make. Someone who's making professional debut, but they're also people who know boxing. So for them to be saying those kind of things, they're seeing something very special in the girl. I'm really excited. She's got a decent opponent as well in Kirsty Babington. She'll really bring it. But it's something I'm looking forward to, and she'll be. I'm confident she'll be a big name on the women's scene very soon. And Campbell, always good to see Campbell back out. He's being active. He's working hard with Uncle Matthew and the whole team. And he's going to look to make. There's a big improvement from his first fight to his second fight. I'm going to look to go again and an improvement again.
But as you said, Ant, before, that the highlight, even if Ben was fighting, would have possibly been the Kanju Lee Wood fight. So a little bit earlier, we caught up with Lee Wood, courtesy of our friends at Matchroom.
Lee Wood, what a monumental night for your career on Saturday night. Just tell us how excited you are, what's going through your mind. The fight week feels ahead of it, as I just say, a huge night in your career.
I'm trying to enjoy it, but not get too excited or wrapped up into the how big it is and what it's for and stuff like that. You know, I always try and take the pressure off, focus on my opponent, take away what it's for, take away how much I'm getting paid, take away the status of it, and just focus on my opponent. I'm going to enjoy fight week like I always do. I always enjoy every little bit of it and soak it up, but I'm just remaining fully focused on the job as well.
This is the perfect example, isn't it, of when opportunity knocks. You know, I know you're in the gym ticking over with Ben, but just tell us some of your first thoughts and reactions when you first got the call that this fight with Zhu Can was on the table and a possibility for fight camp.
The first thought is, where am I at fitness-wise? Luckily, I'm a fighter that goes back into the gym after a little break after a fight. Some fighters only train when they have fight dates, but ticking over, and that's what's kind of paid off for me. Been in the gym, being ready, being at a certain percentage away from a fight, and then 6 weeks' notice is just enough time to get me ready for a fight. So got the news, spoke to Ben, looked at the styles, and Ben was confident pretty much straight away. Obviously, we looked at where my fitness was. It didn't take long to come back with a decision and take the fight.
Before we come on to talk about the fight itself, when you linked up with Ben, obviously you had a little bit of time, didn't you, ahead of the Reece Mould fight to sort of gel together. You're making those small adjustments, particularly on how you were putting your shots together, looking to get those power shots off effectively. When you look back to that fight with Reece Mould, bearing in mind the time you'd had with Ben, it was a proud night for you, wasn't it? And a good win as well. Yeah,
looking back, I only had a short period with Ben. I think it was 6 or 7 weeks. So although I trusted him, I put all my trust into him, I didn't exactly know the reasons for doing things. So I was kind of just take it as gospel. I've been told to do something, go and do it, do this, do that. I was like, right, do it, just do it. It was only a short period of time. Since then, going back into the gym with Ben and having a lot longer time spent with him and understanding why I'm doing things. This is going to be detrimental in this fight because I know exactly what I need to do and why I'm doing it and where to do it. Whereas the Mould fight, I was just doing it because I've been told to do it. So it all makes sense. The game plan Ben's come up with is bang on, and I can't wait to go out and get the job done on Saturday night.
Because we've been in the gym, we've watched the way that Ben operates, quite a unique system, breaking down the smallest of scenarios of potential things that could potentially unfold at any point in the fight. So you'll be, as you just say, they're heading into this fight from a tactical perspective, completely aware and understanding how you're going to win this fight against Zhu Can.
Absolutely. We make you drill things. Once we get a game plan, it's not as simple as, right, we know what we need to do. You need to practice what you're going to be doing. And he doesn't let you rest. He doesn't let you switch off. Every day we're drilling it until we're literally sick of drilling it. And I'll be drilling it tonight, and I'll be drilling it tomorrow, and I'll be drilling it maybe even a light session after I weighed in on the night of that as well. But there's no excuses not getting it right. His game plan is always spot on. I don't think he's got it wrong yet. If you look at it, Josh's fights and Lee McGregor's, and no different on Saturday night. Got my full 100% trust in the game plan and my preparation, and just got to go out there and execute it.
Do you believe he's been in with anyone when you look through his resume that maybe can dig like yourself?
Possibly can dig a little bit. I don't think he's been in with someone that is as devastating with power as me, that I can mix the power up. But he's fought some good kids, but like I said, not as devastating as my power. And there's more to this fight than just me coming out and blasting him away. You need to be smart, you need to set your shots up, and loads of individual things in between the moments that I will be doing that we've been working on. I'm excited though, I'm excited.
He's set records, hasn't he, for the amount of punches thrown in fights. His punch volume, I'm sure you'd have been breaking that down with Ben. That's probably certainly his biggest strength, isn't it?
Absolutely. If you stand there with him and let him get momentum, you're in for a long, hard night with him. It's like you won't fight anyone to their strengths. You'd be stupid to do that. And all his previous opponents have done that.
Well, Lee Wood there, confident as you would expect. And looking at the records, Lee Wood, he's been in with good company. This is a step up, of course, but just a couple of defeats on his record.
Yeah, he has. He's only lost twice to Gavin McDonald, which Gavin come from behind, and he fought for the world title. Jazza Dickens, who's fighting for a world title. So he's only lost in very good company. And he had his moments, in both fights. And I just, like I say, with Zucan, you wouldn't see him as Gary Russell. He's someone who's improving under Pedro Diaz, and it's going to be a hard night, and you've got to make him favourite. But this is a winnable fight. There's other featherweights on the world scene what you'd certainly put before him. So it's I think it's a great opportunity for Lee Wood.
Well, let's hear what Zucan's got to say as well. Again, courtesy of Matchroom.
Talk to us about your opponent, Lee Wood. Do you know anything about him? Have you watched any of his fights?
Yeah, I watched his fight. He's a tough guy. He's smart. He got power punch. That's serious for me.
Lee believes that yourself and Golden Boy have made a mistake in choosing to defend your title against Lee Wood. I just wonder if you have any response to that.
We're going to see in the fight. What happened in the fight. That's it. Boxing is you how to punch, not your how to talk.
Very good, very good. And this is very much just the beginning for you, isn't it? You want the unifications and you want to be the #1 featherweight in the world. That's the dream for you.
Yeah, that's the dream. But right now we just focus on this fight, on Lee Wood.
I just want to also get your opinion on other fights in the division. Josh Warrington, obviously someone who I just mentioned earlier, who you were perhaps going to fight earlier on in the year. A massive shock loss for him against Maurizio Lara. What were your thoughts on that first fight, and how do you see the rematch going? Who do you think wins the rematch?
For Josh?
Yeah.
Lara is a dangerous fighter, so I hope Josh get focused in the fight. Be careful of his power.
Do you believe it's a fight we could see in the future, you versus Josh Warrington?
Sure. We're going to finish the fight. We worked a long time for the fight, but it's not going to happen. So we will finish it.
And in your own words, could we get a prediction for you for Saturday night? What do you believe happens on Saturday night, and how do you want to win this fight?
For me, the fight is 12 rounds, 100%. We're ready for the fight. But everything going to happen in the fight. So we will see what happened in the fight.
Well, as you can there, a great fight to look forward to at Fight Camp. But there is another big night of action on these shores this weekend, and it's in Scotland. It's Hamilton, in fact, New Douglas Park, outdoor setting. The fans are back in Scotland. It's going to be a great night on Fight Zone as well. So Fight Zone now on the road, and top of the bill, Nathaniel Collins against Felix Williams. But there's plenty of local Scottish talent as well. Everybody very excited about this occasion. Dean Sutherland, Billy Stewart, David Jameson. Again, the list goes on. And again, these Fight Zone, you've been involved, Anthony. You've been there at the Fight Zone Arena in Sheffield. But now the show is going out on the road. There's so much excitement about it, isn't there, north of the border?
Yes, and they'll really come out to support the show well. It'll be a great atmosphere there. I think some great prospects on the card. And Nathaniel Collins in the main event. Good southpaw, nice skills, great opportunity, Commonwealth title. And we've seen what he's done recent times. One of them you just mentioned, Lee Wood had it. Josh Warrington, who we mentioned earlier. They're both names who've gone on now. So I think Nathaniel Collins will look at that as a springboard to put him into it. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be a good show. We saw some great fights over at the Fight Zone Arena, as you mentioned. And it's good to see it on the road and a great way to get it started.
Well, let's have a listen to the man himself then. Here's top of the bill, Nathaniel Collins.
I'm not one of the people that's going to wait about. I fully expect to be a world champion. I fully expect to be Fight Zone's first world champion. This place is going to give me the platform I need to go, and that's 100% believe that. So I'll come in a 12-rounder right away, you know, but I'll leave that down to Sam Kinnick, my manager, and the matchmakers, and, you know, I'm ready to go, always.
So plenty of action to look forward to on Fight Zone from Hamilton this Saturday night. Nathaniel Collins against Felix Williams, top of the bill there, stacked card. Now, one man that has often been fighting on Fight Zone recently is Jamie Quinn, a man that's had 121 fights, just the 7 victories. But that doesn't tell the story, really, of these road warriors, journeymen, whatever you want to call them, some very skilled operators, and nobody more so than Jamie Quinn. And for our special feature Outside the Ropes on the Sportsman, I caught up with Jamie and got to know him a little bit more of his life when he isn't on the road, which he does a lot.
Quinny's boxed at such a good level, you know, when you look at his record, he's been in with a who's who, you know, around the probably featherweight to lightweight, only been stopped a handful of times, which is absolutely amazing. It shows what a tough guy he is. But like you touched on there, they're just so important to the sport. I think Quinny's had about 5 fights in the last 6 or 7 weeks. You know, you speak to someone who doesn't really know the game, they'd be amazed by that. The journeyman, so important for the young fighters, and without a doubt, Quinn is one of the best of them about now. He's fighting regular, never gets stopped. He's a busy guy, Quinn. He does bits of work during the day, he's doing his PT sessions and fighting most weekends, so fair play to him.
He's a legend, isn't he? Legend of the game. He was born for this, wasn't he? He was born for it. I hope I can be respected as much as him one day, you know, which one of them. That's got to be your goal as a journeyman, to set it like someone like him, you know what I mean? Yeah, I know. Got an easy life, and he's got no kids, that's why it's easy for him. Yeah, I've got 2 kids, mum, that's why I'm surprised I'm not bald.
So a sneak preview there of Outside the Ropes with Jamie Quinn. And I know, Anthony, and I mentioned it in the piece, that, you know, boxing people are big fans of Jamie Quinn, and for good reason.
And I'm one of his biggest, fantastic. He's so important to British boxing, testing prospects week in, week out. As I say all the time about Jamie Quinn, very capable. There's definitely some fights there he could turn up and you think, he could turn the prospects over. But he's brilliant out. That's not saying he doesn't try, because he's very, very good at what he does. But great character as well, which we'll see there. I look forward to watching this.
Yeah, he knows, you know, if he turns on too much, that phone stops ringing, and he's
the
busiest man in show business, that lad. He's the busiest of the busy. So anyway, it's a great story. So definitely watch that. 7 o'clock on the Sportsman. It drops on all social media platforms and everything else at 7 o'clock. But there is a written feature out there now. If you want to catch up with Jamie, find him on the Sportsman, and you'll find a lovely, beautifully written piece on that. Anyway, enough of that, and a little bit more about you, Anthony, because I was a bit concerned before, thinking, now the Euros got in the way a little bit at the start. Now the Olympics is on, and you're going to be watching the Olympics. And are you neglecting Love Island at the moment, or is it still number 1?
Do you know what? I have been neglecting it. I'm not proud to say it, but I have been neglecting it. And I think with the Casa Amor was very much needed. And I think it's finally started. Love Island's finally started now. Looking forward to the recoupling, which couples are going to, you know, stay loyal. Some big decisions for the lads and girls coming up on Love Island.
That's fantastic news.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll try and break away from that, and just gives a little insight into what's happening with yourself. And we do it every week, but you know, obviously you've got your own pros, and you're working with Joe as well with the stable there. So give us a lowdown.
I think I said, I'm not sure there's anything new to report other than was that a DAZN launch the other night with Vedder. Rihanna's going to make.
You were down at the party, by the way, weren't you?
I was at the party. Sorry?
Party Crolla. Was it good fun?
Yes, it was. It was a good one. There's a performance from a few artists, a few a few influencers there, a few big names in boxing there. He was there. I've got Liam Payne. He was there. He didn't sing. He wasn't the one who sang, but no, it was good. It was good to do. Free bar. Yeah, what's there not to like?
So go on. What's happening then with the fighters?
Yeah, no, speaking there, I think Rhiannon, she's going to make a matchroom debut in October. She's going to fight before then in September. Again, I told you, so September 11th, 12th, I've got 2 on. I've got three of the fighters on, yeah. And we've got Bobby, who's just going to turn over, but that'll be later in the year. And yeah, no, that's on my side. I think, you know, in Gallagher's, they've got a show August 20th. Marcus Morrison and Callum Thompson makes his debut. He's just signed with Frank, but he has his debut there. Very talented fighter, southpaw, lovely mover. Yeah, no, so busy times are coming now with the shows.
And just a final one, because there's a piece about him in Boxing News this week. Callum Smith, a new chapter for him now with Buddy McGirt. And again, you've obviously, yourself and Joe, you've worked with him for years and years and years. And obviously with Joe guiding him, he achieved massive things. Obviously the night against George Groves and world champion. But he's doing his own thing now. And I'm sure you'd expect him to succeed again, carry on.
He is, yeah. And he's moving up to light heavyweight, which I think is the right decision. Callum, you know, he's loving it out there in LA. Hopefully now Buddy can hopefully add something new to his game, and we see him being a major force at light heavyweight. He said he's done everything he could at super middleweight. There's certainly no excuses. I think the weight, he wasn't someone who struggled with it before that, but I think that the last year it finally caught up with him being such a big lad at the weight. But no regrets. He won everything there, fought pound number one in most people's opinion. Now looks in his all the best to Callum in his chase to get a second world title at a different weight. Second weight.
Great lad. All right, great stuff. Well, enjoy the Olympics over the weekend, Anthony.
I will be.
You know, you never know, by the time we speak again, United might have signed another player.
Mate, good times. Excited by it's been a great week. The signings of United, performances in the Olympics, and Love Island finally getting going. It's been a great week.
No better way to end. With that, final thought from Anthony $1 Million Crolla. That's it from the Betfred Boxing Show. Join us again next week.